The Miami Dolphins desperately need to add another cornerback to their roster before training camp, and one of the top names that Miami is targeting is Asante Samuel Jr. Well, there could actually be bad news for Dolphins if they want to go grab Samuel Jr. because, well, his father, Asante Samuel Sr., had some harsh words about the Miami Dolphins. And before we showcase what he said, it's clear that to me, Samuel Jr. is the top free agent corner available. There are some good players still out there. Asante Samuel Jr., Rasul Douglas, Mike Hilton, Stephon Gilmore. But when you think about it from Miami's perspective, Asante Samuel Jr. makes the most sense because he's the only one of these players that is under the age of 30. And although he does have serious injury concerns and history, he fits the timeline of the secondary and organization better than the other three. Like these other three 30-year-old plus guys are more fit to join a win now roster, unlike Miami. So Asante Samuel Jr. is the top target in my book for the rest of the offseason at that cornerback position. And before we get into what Asante Samuel Sr. said, make sure you follow me over on Twitter at Nic_Rohloff is my handle. If the Dolphins end up making a signing for a corner, which it is probable that they do, I'll have the news on Twitter before we make a video here on the channel. So go give me a follow at Nic_Rohloff today. So Asante Samuel Jr., the longtime veteran Super Bowl champion with the New England Patriots, has his own podcast, and well, he flamed McDaniel and Chris Grier, calling the organization sensitive, no leadership. Mike McDaniel is a pushover. Chris Grier has no backbone. They're running this team like a little league team. And I have a couple thoughts on what Asante Samuel Sr. said. He might be right about McDaniel being a pushover. He might be right about Chris Grier having no backbone. It's why you've seen a little bit of change in style this offseason with the Dolphins being more stern with Jalen Ramsey, being more stern with Bradley Chubb. It's like, well, if you want to be on this roster, you have to take a pay cut. The threats of a potential Tyreek Hill trade. Like, he might be right. But it doesn't change the fact that Asante Samuel Sr. is an absolute clown. I mean, he bad-talked Bill Belichick and the Patriots when Belichick and their organization made Asante Samuel Sr. as a player. We're also talking about a guy who dropped an interception in the Super Bowl between New York and New England when the Patriots were bidding for a perfect season, where if he made that interception, the helmet catch doesn't happen a couple plays later. Asante Samuel Jr. is not someone that I'm going to listen to. It just isn't. Now, the question then is, though, is Asante Samuel Sr. speaking almost on behalf of Asante Samuel Jr., to where his son, who is currently in the NFL, feels in a very similar light to his dad and therefore probably would not sign with the Miami Dolphins even if they showed a lot of interest. Is this how his son feels? Before I give you my thoughts on the matter, I want to know your thoughts. After seeing Asante Samuel Sr.'s thoughts on the Dolphins' leadership, do you think his son, the top free agent, feels the same way? Type Y for yes or type N for no. It's the pinned comment. So if you get hit with YouTube ad break, scroll down, let it play to answer today's question. I do not feel as if he feels the same way. I also will go out there and say that I am not so sure that father and son have the best relationship to where it's at the point where you can take what the father says as it's coming from the son that is currently in the NFL. And there were a couple beat reporters, both from the Herald, Barry Jackson and Omar Kelly, who reacted. I want to share what they said. Barry reacted to the quote, saying the Dolphins have checked in on the recovery of Asante Samuel Jr., but this way it sounds, they might have better luck waiting out for Rasul Douglas or pursuing Stephon Gilmore or James Bradbury, a player that we have not talked about today, but is someone Miami has registered interested in the past this offseason. Now, Omar Kelly also responded to this, saying that the son and the father are not super tight, and I'm not sure anything Asante Sr. said is a surprise to anyone. Omar, very similarly to me in this case, is like, well, Asante Samuel Sr. isn't someone that I'm really paying that much attention to in terms of what he says about football, And then he also mentioned that the relationship isn't so bonded to where those thoughts will be aligned, if you will. And regardless of what his father said, I am still firmly in the camp of wanting Asante Samuel Jr. This is the player in free agency that simply just makes the most sense for the Miami Dolphins if they are going to go out and sign a cornerback. For so many different reasons. I alluded to it in a very light manner. His age, and despite the injury concerns, his upside is higher than any of the other three corners we talked about. He's just a simply better player at this stage in his career when comparing him to the Rasul Douglases, the Stephon Gilmores, the James Bradberries, the Mike Hiltons of the world. And where Miami is currently sitting in terms of their roster construction, the only way that they really jump from a fringe playoff team, which is where they are right now, assuming they stay healthy, to a okay, what can happen here if you get in the right situation, in the right matchup during the postseason, is a cornerback to come out of nowhere and really blossom. Asante Samuel Jr. is the most likely corner you can add to this roster, in free agency at least, that comes out of nowhere, surprises you, blossoms, and next thing you know, you have a secondary that isn't bottom 10 in the National Football League, and you pair that up with a top half pass rush, top half offense, and now you're winning playoff games potentially for the first time in 25 years. So that's why I'm in on Asante Samuel Jr. More coming up here in a second, but if you want daily Dolphins coverage and weekly live shows, this is the channel for you. Join Dolphins Today. We are a family here, and we are inching closer and closer to training camp in the preseason. So if you want up-to-date daily coverage of the Fins, subscribe today. I've showed these coverage stats for Samuel Jr. a lot. He's 25 years old, turning 26 soon. And the last time he played a full season, because he did deal with so many injuries this past year in 2024, was in 2023. And he showed a blend of ability to play in any type of scheme. He excels in man coverage. Despite having a little bit of a smaller frame at 5'10", he's got extremely long arms, which allows him to be disruptive at the point of attack and in press coverage, and be a little bit more fluid in terms of his ability to cover man-to-man. You see, he had a better QB rating when targeted, a better completion percentage when targeted, when playing man coverage. Now, this is not me saying that he can't play zone coverage, which is something Miami does about 65% of the time. But Anthony Weaver's defense is also very multiple and very versatile to where you can expect so much different type of coverage, whether it be a man possession, a zone coverage, cover 2, cover 3. You're actually blitzing outside corner and having a couple players drop out from the front 7 to play a little bit more downfield. This defense is so tough to really hone in on and say pre-snap what they're going to do. And Asante Samuel Jr.'s ability to play in both kind of schemes in any type of defense bodes well for his ability to be an impact player for Miami this season if they were to sign him. And this is what I've continued to echo throughout this show. He gives you the best of both worlds. He is the youngest free agent corner out there and the best. So he has the highest upside and the potential ability to be the person that sticks with your organization the longest. Like if you were to sign a Douglas, sign a Stephon Gilmore, even if they play well, it's likely for one season and you move on trying to get younger at the position. But if Asante Samuel Jr. is signed and he plays well this year, well, then there's a chance you sign him to a 2-3-year extension and keep him in Miami for the prime of his career until he gets to 28, 29 years old. So that upside, to me, makes it worth taking the flyer on him despite his injury concern. And his signing will come probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. It was reported about a month and a half, 2 months ago, that he is likely going to sign in early to mid-July, right before training camp, after he gets his checkup medically on his neck surgery. He dealt with shoulder and neck injuries all last season. He had neck surgery around draft time in April. And Jeremy Fowler reported that teams will get a checkup with him medically early July, and then teams that are pursuing him in free agency will likely make their offers. So I would expect Asante Samuel Jr. to sign in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And I think Miami will certainly be interested. They've contacted him in the past. They have not brought him in for a visit. They have not offered him a contract. They are waiting to see how the medicals check out, and then they will likely pursue Asante Samuel Jr. Closing out the show here in 1 second, but how about this insane hoodie sale? You see this sweet standard aqua Dolphins hoodie with the logo center chest, usually $69. You can get it for $29. $40 off when you go to chatsports.com/MIA hoodie. That link is in the description and comments of today's video. Sizes are running out. You will not see a deal as good as this one. I don't know how long. Just a ridiculous deal right now when you go to chatsports.com/MIA hoodie. Get it right now. Links in the description and comments of today's video. Rounding out the conversation on cornerback and Asante Samuel Jr. I think it's very clear what my wish list is for the rest of the offseason before training camp gets underway in 2 or 3 weeks. I would like to sign a cornerback. I would prefer to try to maybe trade for one, whether it's a Jalen Watson or Greg Newsome, but I do not see that coming to fruition. So let's just sign one for agency. I prefer it to be Asante Samuel Jr. I'll settle for Rasul Douglas. But I would also like to make a trade for a tight end. I have clarified why I feel that way with videos over the past 3 or 4 days. If you have not seen it, I would recommend being subscribed and watching those videos the last couple of days because I explain more in those shows. But that would be the perfect close to the offseason. You add a veteran corner to help fortify the secondary, and you get a legit starting tight end because there is no guarantee that Darren Waller sticks and provides solid productivity for you this upcoming year. Let's round out the show with something a little bit more interesting to close. The NFL has started to reveal their top 100 players in the league. They do this every offseason. Voted on by the players, by the way. Tua came in ranked at 91. And I know a lot of people had different thoughts about it on social media. I want to give my thoughts at the end of today's show. You see him right there, voted at 91 amongst NFL players. Players that he just edged out: Ladd McConkey, who had a fabulous rookie season; Leonard Williams, Aaron Jones, Drake London, Levante David, Josh Sweat, Sam Laporta, Creed Humphrey, and Jesse Bates. And I'll be very transparent here. I am pretty surprised that Tua Tagovailoa made the top 100 list and at 91. I have been, and I will self-proclaim myself as this, someone who defends Tua Tagovailoa. Do I consider myself a Tua stan and someone who believes he's going to win a Super Bowl for Miami? No, I do not. But I think that he gets just a little bit overhated by the Dolphins fan base and NFL media as a whole. Because what he does is very difficult in this Mike McDaniel scheme. He has to manage all of the motion pre-snap. He has to be quick, decisive, accurate. And I know he's got so many physical limitations, but he also does so much that is underappreciated that is not able to be done by every player. His pre-snap and post-snap kind of decisions are second to none, if we're going to be honest. And I do believe he is a top half football player or at the quarterback position. He's a top 15, top 16 QB without a debate. And I think that people hate on him too much. He's just got to stay healthy, and he's got to be able to play 16, 17 games for the Fins. Because when he did that, the Dolphins made the playoffs, and he led the league in yardage. So just stay healthy, Tua. That's all I ask you. Fill in the blank. Tua Tagovailoa is the blank best player in the NFL. Is it in the top 100? Is it not? Let me know your thoughts by filling in the blank down in the comment section. But it's clear that Tua's peers respect him a lot. This is not a media award. This is voted on by the players. The players are asked for their top 100 players in the National Football League. Tua is ranked 91. So I think that speaks volume. And I know a lot of people will get on me for this take, but how am I going to sit here and disrespect and call Tua trash when players that play with him and play against him in a weekly basis call him a top 100 player in the league? So to me, I think the hate that he gets is a little bit unwarranted. I'm not calling him the best quarterback in the league. I'm not calling him the worst quarterback in the league. He's somewhere in the middle. He's a capable starting quarterback in the National Football League. You can question the ceiling for the Dolphins with Tua, but if he plays 17 games this year, I would expect Miami to have a winning record because as a starting quarterback, he is 38-24. So when he starts football games, he wins and the Dolphins win. And I expect more of the same this season if he can stay healthy. That'll do it for this episode of Dolphins Today. Make sure you are subscribed for daily coverage. We'll have a video out tomorrow morning, and then we'll be going live on the channel Tuesday afternoon to discuss the latest around the Fins heading into training camp. So make sure you subscribe and make sure you join us.